Welcome everyone to Lunch with LeAnn. Today is the first day of September 2021. And if this is your first time joining us, Lunch with LeAnn is a weekly program that is hosted by LINC, a Center for Independent Living in Southwest Idaho. Our guests on Lunch with LeAnn join us every Wednesday to share some fun conversation around lunch, what access and independent living means to them, and also share some important resources that may help you or someone you know in living the life of your choosing. And we do all of this in the first 15 to 20 minutes of your lunch break. You may have even gotten a little short preview today because the host went live a little soon, but we're excited to welcome our guest, Shannon Decker, who is the co-founder and executive director of the Speedy Foundation. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, LeAnn. Thanks for inviting me over for lunch.
Of course, of course. We've had lunch together a couple of times. I'll let the viewers know, but it was in our younger years as we were counselors together at a camp. So most of it was in a mess hall. But we are very excited to have you here. I, of course, also want to welcome back Sierra, our American Sign Language interpreter. I will also note that these videos are available on YouTube on our channel, LINC Idaho TV, with captioning shortly after the program. So Shannon, what are you having for lunch today? Because I don't think it's a hamburger from Pilgrim Cove.
It's not a hamburger. I have some lettuce. I've got a bed of lettuce. And then on top of that, I'm going to toss some pesto ravioli with shrimp. And this is one of my favorites. I love a little tortellini and with Costco pesto. I make it in big batches, and then I just eat it right on top of the lettuce so that I don't have to have any type of dressing. And it keeps well, it travels well, and that's what's for lunch for me this entire week. Next week, it'll be something else.
Oh, so is that how you do it? Like you do a same lunch all week? That's great.
Yeah, make it stretch.
Yeah, and probably easy to plan.
How about you?
Oh,
yeah, what are you eating?
Well, you know, I am an Idaho native, so I'm having a baked potato, the works, and it's actually leftovers. So, you know, there's a local little dine-in here called West Side Dine-In, and it started on State Street here in Boise. But I live on the east side, and there's a west side on the east side. And so that's where I get to go. And they have this great potato, and it's gigantic. And so I split it in half and have it for lunch. Always have the leftovers.
Wow. So LeAnn, that little diner that you're speaking of, that is directly across the street from where I grew up. I grew up off of Pennsylvania, and my storage unit for the Speedy Foundation is right there on the other side. So I treat myself to a little west side whenever I possibly can.
Oh, do you have a favorite menu item?
West side on the east side. I mean, I love their ice cream potatoes, but as far as food goes, I usually get some type of a burger. They've got so many different options, and
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Idaho potato ice cream is a very unique thing for sure. So if you're from Boise or visit Boise and have never seen it, there it is. There's two west sides. All right. Well, Shannon, I love talking about food with you. I also love talking about the work that you do. And so we're here, this month actually is a pretty important month for the Speedy Foundation. And you know, tell us a little bit about the Speedy Foundation and maybe a little bit about how you got involved.
Yeah, happy to. So Speedy Foundation, our mission is suicide prevention and mental health awareness. We were established 10 years ago in July. It was in memory of my cousin, Jarrett Speedy Peterson, who ended his life back in 2011. He was a 3-time Olympic skier. He brought home a silver medal from the Vancouver Olympics in 2010. And so within a year and a half, you know, from being on top of the world and meeting all of the goals that he had set forth, you know, he ended his life. And for his family and friends, we were kind of left going, wow, there was a lot of things that we understood that he was struggling with and a lot that we didn't. But we knew that we weren't alone. We knew that his death was preventable and that something had to change. And so his mom and a couple of his high school buddies from the Boise area sat down, and we put together the paperwork to start a nonprofit. And we didn't know exactly what the work would entail, but we knew that something had to change. And at his memorial service, the mayor of Boise, at that time it was Mayor Beater, came up to our family and said, did you know that Idaho is one of the only states in the US that does not have a hotline call center? So if someone calls the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, those calls roll over to Portland or Omaha, and it's hard for folks in those areas to understand the state of Idaho, the geographical makeup of our state, the rural nature and our mentality. And so there was a plan in place. There just needed to be a little champion to raise it up, and a funding mechanism. And so that's how the Speedy Foundation was born. And over the last 10 years, things have changed. We talk openly about suicide. We advocate for mental health regularly. And that's not only, in our state and in our communities, but nationally and globally. Right now, we've got the Paralympics happening, and a couple of weeks ago, we had the Olympics happening, where mental health was really elevated. In fact, 10 years ago, Speedy wasn't able to talk about his mental health in the open. He didn't talk about his previous suicide attempts or witnessing a roommate die by suicide. And today, the Olympic Committee has a mental health task force, which I am a member of and an advisor to. So there's been a lot of change that we've seen in the past 10 years. And we've been able to develop a lot of additional programming. We've been able to help advocate for change and create some legislative policies and help rewrite Idaho's suicide prevention plan. We host a lot of conversation booths and promote conversations like this one. And then we've brought in evidence-based education platforms like Mental Health First Aid and Question, Persuade, Refer, and have been able to create our own content as well. So that's kind of the Speedy Foundation in a nutshell. And I have a background in education. Part of that developed when you and I were working together at YMCA camps when I was an undergraduate student, but I knew that children and education were my passion. And so I taught for a number of years out in the West Ada School District. And, even before the Speedy Foundation, I had students who were disclosing things about struggling with their mental health, or really, these abstract thoughts of suicide. I remember the summer that I was with you up in McCall, I had a student, she was a foster child, who said, nobody really wants me around. I don't have a place. I don't have a purpose. And there was this red flag. I had this gut feeling that, something wasn't right, but I wasn't sure what to do. I know that people who work with children get a lot of training in mandated reporting. What do you do when a child is being abused? What do you say? What do you not say? What's the timeline for reporting that, and who do you report it to? But when it comes to that child wanting to hurt themselves, or any person really, we don't have a general literacy in this country as far as what are we supposed to do. We're kind of told to avoid it, to talk around it. And so, before launching the Speedy Foundation, I had many instances where a child would disclose, that they felt their families would be better off without them. And so until I took some of the trainings that the Speedy Foundation now provides, I wasn't comfortable and I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do or say. So my connection to education, as well as my personal connection to losing a loved one to suicide, is really what helps me champion this cause.
Yeah, I appreciate you with such great detail, and also, you can tell that story has continued to progress, even since the last time you and I had a chance to visit. It is always evolving and changing. And, what are some of those things that you'd like people to know, some 2 or 3 really important things that you'd like people to know from our conversation today, Shannon?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for asking. One thing that I wasn't aware of is this resource of the hotline. So the hotline should be programmed into everyone's phone. If you've got your phone next to you, pull up, open a new contact, and let's program that in. The phone number is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 8255. And that phone number is a nationwide hotline. You don't have to be suicidal to call it. If you're concerned about someone and you want to just, have a sounding board to say, here's what I'm concerned about, here's what they're doing or what they're saying, and I don't know what to do, call that phone number and talk to one of those trained volunteers. The folks that work at the hotline are trained in some really remarkable crisis intervention, de-escalation, suicide prevention work, and they can help you come up with a plan. Next summer, in July of 2022, that phone number is going to change to a nationwide 988. So we're trying to elevate this resource and put it on par with 911. 911 is for physical safety emergencies. 988 is going to be for that emotional emergency. And so starting next year, we'll switch over to 988. But for right now, that's a resource that most people just don't know about. And I think that it's something that the more that we utilize it, the more we'll be able to receive funding and resources to help support that and to build, this larger crisis navigation system. So if we're going to do three things, I would say one, that resource is huge. The second thing is talking directly about suicide. For so many of us, we just don't have permission to talk about it. Suicidal thoughts and suicidal, feelings are really quite normal. They're very common. People acting upon those is less common, and it's quite rare for someone to die by suicide. But the best way that we can prevent those things is to have open and honest conversations about it. And so if it's something that you're uncomfortable with, I really encourage you to do a little bit more, to take a training. The Speedy Foundation offers complimentary online on-demand trainings at our Mentally Covered Training Center. You can find those by going to thespeedyfoundation.org/mentally-covered. And that really helps to destigmatize this topic. But at the end of the day, we have to talk about it directly. We have to be comfortable asking the question, are you having thoughts of suicide? Are you thinking about taking your life? And being ready to have an open and honest conversation. And so it's something that we've missed in almost, every career, in almost every K-12 education. It's just not been a part of it. And yet that is the best way to prevent suicide. In the United States, if we think about drunk driving rates, drunk driving was a huge problem, for a long, long time. And we didn't see the drunk driving rate start to decline until we created a messaging campaign. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. And we empowered that person to understand what an impaired, person might look like. What are the signs that they might be exhibiting? We empowered them to take away the keys and to get that person connected to safety, to get them home, to put them in a taxi cab. And we can deal with the repercussions of the rest of it later. Like it's not that big of a deal. This was safe for now. The same is true with suicide prevention. If we keep placing the onus on the person who's struggling with thoughts of suicide, they're not as likely to reach out for help as someone noticing that they're struggling. They are making the statements, they are asking the questions directly, and then they are connecting them to care. So those would be the three things that I've learned and that we really try to promote in helping to prevent suicide. It's one of the most preventable forms of death, and we can all be empowered to step in and speak out.
Yeah, and do it and do it with the positive, as best intention as we come with, right? Because I think people do want to, it's like you said, sometimes you don't know how. And so you mentioned some of these trainings and some of this, and those are great ongoing pieces. Is there any other details about those or any other additional ongoing that the viewers might really love to hear before we sign off?
Yeah, for sure. Well, September is Suicide Prevention Month. So there's a whole bunch of activities and events that are coming up. Next week, we're going to be working with Bronco Bold in training the athletic department in having some of these conversations. And so we're designing that training, that workshop with the Bronco Athletics. So Mentally Covered is a workshop that we're able to create for organizations. For a number of years, the Speedy Foundation was able to provide live trainings, but due to COVID, things have had to pivot. So if you go to the speedyfoundation.org/mentally-covered, you'll be able to find some of our online on-demand trainings, as well as opportunities for live virtual trainings via Zoom, or creating your own and bringing them to organizations. So in the past 2 years, we've really seen a huge uptick in organizations bringing training in, instead of just, community members finding these trainings and empowering themselves with this type of education. So yeah, you're totally welcome to check us out and to join us. You can follow us on social media. We'll be doing a lot of conversation and outreach opportunities throughout the month. We've got a Facebook Live coming up tomorrow with the American Association of Suicidology, and a webinar next month with the Center for Psychological Deployment on elite athletes and the military. So I don't know, feel free to come along or reach out with any questions, but really I would just encourage you to reflect on your own mental health and on any friends or family members. And if you're struggling, or if you get that gut feeling that someone else is struggling, let's reach out, let's start a conversation, or let's get you just a little bit more education on how to have some of those difficult conversations, so that you can do that. Take that time this month to make that a priority.
Yes, and I will add a little cherry on top of there. If you are in an organization, or you do have a family gathering or a Zoom opportunity, we actually at LINC are taking some of our staff meeting to talk about the awareness of this. Our personal assistant services team, department, decided that their minutes this month are going to be around this conversation. So, it is just about a start to a conversation. You don't know who needs to hear it sometimes, as we are still trying to get over the stigma. So I do appreciate that approach of starting conversations, but also when you don't necessarily know how to have conversations like that, there's education for you. And so Shannon, I appreciate that wraparound approach, and you especially kicking off this month with Lunch with LeAnn, so that all of our watchers and viewers can definitely take this month to increase your awareness, so that we can help prevent suicide and change some of that stigma. Shannon, I appreciate you for your time, your talent, and also all of the work that you do around the world, really in the work of mental health. So thank you so much. And for now,
Awesome.
we are just going to say ciao for now, everyone.
Ciao for now. Thank you so much, LeAnn.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week.